kind of want to make a quick little piece because this is the truth that I've been finding more and more these last few months. And every time I try to take a little bit more control, I realize this a little more. That it's not really productive to fight against the universe. It's not really productive to fight. It's not productive to take on the burden of everything around you. It's not productive. As a kid, my whole life I grew up. And, I've always been skeptical of everything, you know what I mean? I had the atheist phase. I had all the phases, nowadays it just doesn't make sense for me that there isn't a universal truth that we're all following. But another thing I want to say is I have never, thought of karma. You know what I mean? I've never thought of karma. Never. Up my whole life, up until this moment. Where I'm realizing the more I trust in my intuition, the more I do things which I perceive to be right and just let go of the control that I try to take over everything in my life, everything in my experience. I try to take control over everything. I just want you guys to know that that brings negative energy towards yourself. And I truly believe that is what karma is. I believe that karma has a way of reflecting the inner turmoil and turbulence of your brain, and it comes back into your life, tenfold. I mean, it's so hard to carry yourself anywhere. But when bad things start to happen, I feel usually it's because of something that's going on within your own story. You know what I mean? In the same way, a similar fashion, I'm not trying to advocate for drug use, but if you guys ever, did drugs or, got drunk and you go out in public and then weird shit starts to happen. It's like the universe is focusing its magnifying glass back on you. And that's the same way if you let negativity dictate your life. That magnifying glass will come right back to you, and it will analyze you, and it will reflect you, and the turbulence of the world will become a projection of what's going on within your own story. And on top of that, there are a lot of small truths that I have to realize as an individual, like judgment, passing judgment onto people, this whole cringe, corny, culture of kind of deconstructing everything to be stupid, or deconstructing everyone to be stupid. Everyone has their quirks. We have to admit that, you know what I mean? Everyone has quirks, but everyone tries. And isn't that the most important part? Isn't that the most essential part of existing? Trying? So all of this cultural stuff, it's just all the trendy stuff that I've always hated, and how the trends are kind of merging into everything. I've definitely picked up a lot of bitterness towards just all everything, how everything is so streamlined now, and it's so I wouldn't say tribal, but it's culture has came into this one big ball, of just whatever. There's nothing new. There's nothing really subversive. There's nothing, whatever, and I find a lot of judgment in that. And that judgment has been leading me down the wrong path. And sometimes it's just all everything can come together so well and put you in such a negative and bitter headspace. People in my past, I feel that's the karma of it, because the people in my past, I try to have control over. I've tried to put this physical distance, on top of putting physical, actually making an effort to avoid people and blocking them out of your life and being super controlling about it, that brings them closer mentally than it does anything. So, like, I've been unblocking people that, like, I've blocked because, like, I wanted some control over, like, the situation. Like, I was the one who had the final say. Like, I've always wanted that final say. Like, I'm in the right, and I want to feel like I'm in the right. But I've realized that I'm fighting against the universe. I'm fighting against reality. What I should let happen is just let other people take reign. You know, it's just all like they should be controlling a bit of their own story, and they should have their own autonomy, whatever. Putting so much energy into being so destructive and, like, you know, it's just all like, God, it weighs on you. You know, I feel like that's the karma of it. And, like, I've been dealing with a deep depression for, like, months now. And, like, these last few days, I feel like I've actually had energy that I actually want to do something with myself. Like, I've been really working. I've been really meditating on this. Like, I've been really thinking on this. And, like, all the kind of, like, answers that I wanted, all of the whatever, like, all the deep, like, I wish people would just forgive me, you know, and I wish I didn't have to be so negative or bitter. I've, like, just stopped responding with more bitterness because it's just so counterproductive to the spirit. Like, I hate to talk in the esoteric, but, like, things will happen that you just can't explain. And what I'm really trying to do is just make my peace with the world and the universe. And I don't mind if people hate me, because that's not my place to control. I don't care if people want to reach out to me or forgive me, because it's not my place to control. I have to trust the greater universal plan, and I have to just not insert myself in so many places. And I think that that would help so much with my own personality disorder and my own insecurity that follows me everywhere. It's just all like, the more that I lean into my insecurity and my ego, the more bad things happen. I feel like it's like a curse that I'm just giving into. And it's like a thing that controls my life in super negative ways. It's just all like the hate that fills me, you know, turns into other things. You know, like drinking or whatever. It's just all like, I feel like the more down that rabbit hole I go, the more down that path I go, the less control I have, and the more the universe puts negative things on my plate, because that's what it assumes that I need. Or not what it assumes I need, but it's just like what I assume I need. I don't know. It's like going against the universal truth of, like, oneness and, like, love and, like, kindness. Going against that puts you on a path of oneness, individualism, and you betray yourself and everyone around you. And I'll be real, to an extent, like, I'm not stupid. You know, some of this stuff, from my perspective, is completely right. And you have to admit that, too, that you can be completely right in your own eyes, by the way. I'm not going to say it's like a universal rightness, but, like, you can be completely right, okay? I have had situations where I've reacted, I think, with equal amount of negativity. You know, I might have came out on top, but that's not the point. No matter if you come out on top or not, you're always losing. You're always losing in that kind of, like, situation. You're always losing in that circumstance. And I want everyone to really think about that. That you can be completely in the right, but that's not, like, the right way, you know? I don't know how else to explain it. It's just like, you can be in the right, you can be completely in the right, you can really, you know, but it's just like, that's not how you're supposed to respond. Sometimes you just have to respond, you know, whatever. I'm not saying that there's never a time where that's in the right, where you're in the right, but, like, sometimes you really just have to, like, balance your shit out. If you can just be the bigger person, just be the bigger person, because in a lot of cases, That's what you have to do. And the universe will fight you on that. In the weirdest way, the universe will fight you on that. Like, you have to be right by, I don't know. Sorry. A little bit of mucus. I'm sorry. I'm really trying my best. I really want to do right, and I really want to have my peace, and I've been finding a lot of peace. I've been finding a lot of peace in this, and life's been just a little bit easier, Not everything requires you to fight it. I'd like to think that, like, my heart's, pretty frequently in the right place, and I'm not the kind of person who wants to put power over people, and I don't want to hurt people, you know what I mean? I don't want to be that person. I don't find pleasure in hurting other people, and I think that might be when you relinquish control and go towards the individualist route. I think hurting other people is when you care a little too much about yourself. And that's not the path I want to go down. You know what I mean? I don't think I'd ever get to that point because, like, it just feels so disgusting to, like, put other people in a position where, they don't have control and, they feel, whatever, powerless. I think that's, like, so evil. You know what I mean? And, like, I think that there is a bit of that in trying to balance your own self on that individualism. I think rugged individualism is a detrimental part of society, contemporary society, and it just exacerbates the cruelty, because cruelty is the point. You guys got to know that there are bad people in control, and their idea of you and their expectation of you is to be a rugged individualist who only cares about yourself, a true nihilist. For all of you people who love to hear that word, it's just all like, that is nihilism. That is the death of the self. The love of the ego, the love of the self, is the death of humanity. That is one of the final parts that you have to realize, that is the direction that, a lot of people are going. But a lot of people might be too far gone because they don't have the power to tell themselves this. But you have to listen. You have to listen to yourself. When I say all of this stuff, I'm hoping that it just, like, inspires people. Listen to yourself. Listen to your gut. Listen to what it tells you about the good you can do for yourself and others. Because you can love yourself. You can still love yourself, and you can love others at the same time. Remember that. That is so essential. So essential. Thank you.